Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another Sunday evening. Today we are with us Brother Tony Hylton, MP for West St. Andrew, legal advisor to the People's National Party, my MP. Yeah, I'll claim him. Patrick could also say, no, Patrick is, Onus is Patrick MP. So, yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Onus is, Hylton is my MP. You
Wholeness.
know, Onus is on the other
Wholeness.
side, from Farm Road go up. You know, Tony, you stop and wait. Conway Road, Balcom Drive,
Yeah.
right in that
Yes.
area. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Right.
It no matter.
yeah.
As far as me concerned, I the same. We not split nothing.
Okay, we're not split nothing. All
Mm.
right, brother Lass, welcome.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm seeing
All
you
right,
also.
good.
Yeah.
Mr. Hylton, good
So,
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good to meet you. Good afternoon.
Come on, same here.
Hmm.
so this Sunday evening, what we want to do is something different than what we have done before. We want to sit and talk to Tony Hylton as a man, a Jamaican who involved in the political process on the ground in the area. As I said, the brother is legal advisor to the People's National Party. I'm not sure if he can take off that act and talk to us as a man-to-man talk because we live a foreign, and we feel strongly about the place, but to be on the ground is a different experience, and we are that in this discussion, brother Tony can bring the reality to the fore and probably ground us, because sometimes, often time, I think that when we talking from a distant, it's sort of, as someone said, "Why you can't say what I say? You don't live in Jamaica, so in other words, must say, you don't know what it means." So one thing I'm hoping that we accomplish today is clarity. That's my thing. Clarity around certain issues. Clarity around the corruption. What can he say to us? I know he can't say much, but those are some of the areas I would like to go into. The corruption, what's happening in Waterhouse, Greater Waterhouse area, and the PNP on a whole. I know the other guests, them, Brother Lass, Brother Patrick, will have questions that they want to ask. And this is what I think. I think that Tony can guide us in a better understanding as to what is happening in Waterhouse. And I'm going to take the opportunity and pose the first question. Well, before I say the question, Brother Tony, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me
Formally,
again.
welcome you on board. Welcome, my brother, and thank you for the time you take out to share with us today. Last,
Sure. A
I know
pleasure.
you have a lot of questions. Patrick, I know you have a series of questions you want to ask Mr. Hylton, especially around the Constitution, you know. And Herb is joining us. Brother Herb, welcome. Welcome, Herb.
Muted.
Muted. Well, let's proceed.
Muted her.
Join.
Muted.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I was saying greetings to you, special guest, Mr. Hylton, those in
Yeah.
the audience, and then, as usual, the panel itself.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
Thank you. Thank you, Herb. Good to see you again.
same here.
Mr. Hylton, you and Prime Minister Holness both represent the Greater White House in Parliament. My question is this: do you guys meet and have discussion as to development in joint development in that area?
We've had discussions around joint development projects. Unfortunately, we have not had agreement on the priorities, so that although we've discussed the housing need for Waterhouse, for example, in my constituency, and I've been at it for quite some time. We spoke last time about, I was on with, previously we spoke about Penwood Road and some houses that I've long wanted to build in that area and along Penwood Road. And I've met with him, we've discussed it. He has indicated that he'll give support to it, but so to date we've just not had the support. So it has been the source of some concern and frustration. Similarly, on other area we share and for which we've had quite a bit of discussion, but yet again no priority attaching to it, is the Sandy Gully. The Sandy Gully is a major drainage, source of drainage for the waters coming from Upper St. Andrew through Lower St. Andrew and affecting the lower parts of St. Andrew, which is both Western and West Central, because we both border the Sandy Gully. And yet, again, we've been at it in the Parliament and privately discussing the priority that attaches to the Sandy Gully. The walls have been breached recently. People are exposed and in danger of being really washed away. The danger is imminent. And yet, I mean, I've been at it for years talking about it in Parliament. We've had the discussion one-on-one. Last time I raised it was last week in Parliament, after they've gotten some more funds. Some funds they've securitized some funds from the Jamaica Civil Aviation, from the Airports Authority, some 480 million. So I asked him how much of that going towards the Sandy Gully, and again, no clear answers on it. So we've had the discussion, but unfortunately, no common ground. Certainly, the recognition is there about the problems, that the problems areas are real, but simply not the priority attaching to it. And he's the Prime Minister, that can easily happen.
What can we overseas do to change the situation? What can we do?
Well, it's just the awareness. It's the awareness, and for the support in pointing to these things and saying these things are real, because they are. I mean, Waterhouse, as you know, part of the challenge for Waterhouse is the housing stock. That the housing stock is not being replenished, and therefore the houses are affected, because Waterhouse is a long settled community, and some older houses. We need to have a new housing stock of housing, so that the young people, teachers, people in the community can have a decent community housing, a gated community of the kind we're talking about and Penwood to living. So that issue is real and it's urgent. Similarly, the Sandy Gully issue is real. I mean, it poses a clear and present danger to people who live not only on the banks of the Sandy Gully, but also communities like Washington Gardens, which are settled communities, because the walls have been breached. It's very clear. The walls have been breached, and if we have another major water event, we could see some very dangerous things happening. So and it's not recognized. As I said, we've had those discussions, and it's recognized that the needs are real. And in the case of the Sandy Gully, he acknowledged last week in the parliament that the matter is urgent, but still no action on it.
It's about 2 years now. The last time we discussed this issue, and you said the same thing then. And my concern is how we get movements on this issue, because we're talking about people life.
Well, it's advocacy. It's really advocacy, because I'm talking, the community it's real, it's recognized, but he's saying it's too much money. And I'm saying, well, how can it be too much money? What we need to do is to begin to address some of the urgent aspects of the problem, like the breaches in the walls of the Sandy Gully and in the floor. I mean, and again, those are videotaped. Those are, the media has been on it. Everybody, so it's and he acknowledges it. So what I can't force a decision unilaterally on funding. That has to come from the cabinet.
But
Okay.
just a follow up on that, Mr. Hylton. These areas that have been identified, where it's pretty obvious, and even as it pertains to the housing, are these areas in any way part of his constituency, or it's primarily your constituency?
It's primarily mine. We share this Sandy Gully, parts of the Sandy Gully, but it's a part of the Sandy Gully that has been strongly and staunchly PNP.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
On the bank, so I've never seen him there. I've never seen him in that area. So, it leaves one to wonder, because the priority is clear. It's obvious. It's visible.
And as it pertains to the housing, has there been any new housing development in his constituency?
Absolutely. There's been about 3 or 4.
So it leads one to the obvious conclusion that this thing is more political than anything else.
It's unfortunately, it's inescapable to draw that conclusion, because you have 3 or 4 housing development. I've not had one, and I've been arguing for the one. We have met on it. We have spoken on it. He agreed that he will assist, and yet when I speak to the housing agency of Jamaica, they're saying that they don't have the funds to do the project. I speak to NHT, they say they don't have the funds to do the project, because their survey indicate that the housing will not be sold. And I said, that's nonsense. It's obvious nonsense. We have a list of people, teachers and everybody, people locally, and even some persons overseas, who are saying they buy houses for their family in the area. But so yeah, the representation is clear. It's made simple. We've made it over and over again. I've led several delegations to the housing authority with myself, the councillor, community representatives. We've had these discussions, and nothing happened.
Probably it is time that we start think about some housing cooperatives that and seek funding.
Yeah, well, let me just say this, because I think it needs to be said. In the midst of doing this, we had a call from a Diaspora member from Waterhouse, who asserts that he has the resources and the interest to do the project. We said, look, we are open to it. Let us work together to get it done. And the truth is that he has just not performed. So we've had many talk about
A lot of talk.
Just talk.
Yeah,
But the idea for just a minute, Patrick. But the idea of a co-op where involving residents, wouldn't that sort of allow us to mobilize the resource to do it and bypass the housing trust or the housing agency down there?
Well, look, I mean, it is theoretically the legal framework is there to get it done. What you really need are the people who are committed and motivated to do it. Yeah?
Okay.
So the legal
And
framework.
also the thing is that how I look at it, Mikey, even though housing cooperative is one alternative, we still can't escape the fact that the political machinery that is in place, we can absolve them of the responsibility. The government is there. The government has a responsibility for housing and providing certain other infrastructure development inside the constituency and across the country. So, I mean, the need is there. They have the responsibility. They need to step up. I think what needs to happen alongside what Mr. Hylton is doing in the community is, as he says, greater advocacy and greater public awareness around this thing, where some of us need to get out there and make this thing known, that the need is there. But what is happening is that the political people are dragging their feet, trying to make this thing more a partisan issue than anything else. Because when you look at West Central St. Andrew, in the last couple of decades, you have had many housing developments on the other side of the border, right? You have Colleen Court, you have Beer Farm Villa, you have lots of developments. I don't think there has been one development in the last couple of decades in Waterhouse. Housing development.
Yeah, the Balcom Drive. Yeah.
Apart from
Not a couple decades, several decades.
Several decades. You know, that's
correct.
That's disgraceful. That's disgraceful.
That's correct. And I want to, I think perhaps for me the most frustrating part is, so that take, for example, common infrastructure. Let us mention common infrastructure. The water, there for West Central, there needed to be a connection to the sewage system. The sewage system ran closest to my constituency on the Sandy Gully side. We had resurfaced, done improved some work on Bay Farm Road, on West Bay Farm Road, and the sewage was needed to go from Sandy Gully to West Central. A major works project was initiated, and the pipeline ran from the banks through on West Bay Farm Road over into West Central and into the Bay Farm Villas and other places, damaging the roadway at West Bay Farm Road. I've been on the Water Commission. We've been at it since then to say you have to rehabilitate the road. You can't dig up the road and leave it at a state so that as it rains, it starts to. Right now, West Bay Farm Road is in a state. And me and them walked the community the other day. I said, man, look at the state of the thing. From the time you dig it up, we've said to you have not reinstated the road in any sustainable fashion. And so what we have is the sewage system running from my constituency over to his to make possible the expansion and the greater development in housing over there. I thought we didn't object to it because we thought, well, for sure, we would be able now to get the Penwood Road housing scheme going, because one of the constraints, frankly, was, again, the issue of sewage and how you address the sewage problem. And so I was supportive of the project because I thought here now is an opportunity to really solve one of the major constraints on having the Penwood housing development take place. But again, after that I went through, I said, I pointed out that I said, well, Prime Minister, you run the sewage through my constituency, and we believe that the sewage is going to serve for both of us, yourselves in West Central and the Penwood housing project. You built two or three housing schemes since then, and we can't get the Penwood Road project going. So it really is, it has been frustrating, and I have to talk it as it is. I mean, and this is not, I'm just speaking factually. It is left for those to draw their conclusion as to whether they think it's just simply political or otherwise. But I can only say what it is, the fact. And these are the facts.
I'm interested in how we get around these obstacles, and I really think we have to break out of the system that they have in place right now as relates to distribution of resource, And I wonder if Mr. Hylton said he was in a discussion with an individual or individuals. I'm not sure. I'm familiar with the story.
The name, of course, will be
No. We don't have to get that name. What I'm interested in is how do we get who are overseas to support that something like that? What would it take?
Well,
what would it take to move the idea? Because it's an idea that is on the table.
Yeah, well, from the time we started on this program, this was one of the first things we talked about.
We talked about it more than once.
Yes. So I'm saying from the first time I came on and followed up. So really, as I said, up to I think about a month ago, another individual, he came on saying, oh, well, he visited and he saw that the roads were in a terrible shape and he wanted to contribute. And we said, well, there are ways and means to contribute. But again, we just need to move from the talk mode and really get into some action, and we can coordinate. And otherwise, we just have to.
Mr. How about setting up a trust, a community trust?
Well, no, all of that is simple. That's a simple thing. But I'm saying what you need is committed individuals to do that.
Okay.
Because there's nothing more frustrating than when you have the big talk and then there's no action and people say, well, look, it's just demotivating. So
I want to shift from the local thing now to the national thing, and I want to present a concern I have to you. You are the legal advisor to the People's National Party. Now this thing blew up with coldness and corruption, and I'm interested in finding out a simple question because I have some worries. In all of the noise around holiness, what happened? Let us assume that the allegation proved to be false, fake news, as Trump said. My question to you, Tony, is this: where does Mr. Holness go to get back his reputation? Is that a worry as a lawyer that you share?
Well, first of all,
as a lawyer,
but let me say, due process is key, and right now, Mr. Holness has chosen to pursue a certain path through the courts, and that's available to him. Whether that proves successful or not, we will see, but he has resorted to the courts. The courts are open to him. He has his lawyers. They have put together a claim, and they ask for certain remedies. The courts will examine it, and they will make a determination. But I want to point out that these allegations were not, what now forms the core of the discussion was the basis of an investigation by a constituted authority, set up no less by Mr. Holness and the people, and I want to point out the persons who were there were all appointed under this administration. None of them under the PNP administration, because this particular institution, which followed on an earlier institution, the Contractor General, was clearly the creation of we had a say in the legislation, but in terms of the appointments of the personnel, this was all done under this administration. So it cannot be said that this was somehow populated by partisan persons who have an axe to grind. So they carried out an investigation. Mr. Onus is well within his rights to challenge any aspects of it, including through the courts. That is happening right now. But similarly, Mr. Onus is a public figure, as am I and others. And Mr. Onus is not without the capability to defend his reputation. If in fact you said there's error on the part of the Integrity Commission, that will be known, because that is being challenged now. And while I don't think that the factual, this is not a case for factual determination. The investigation was done, and certain facts, certain findings were made. And Mr. Onus is challenging aspects of the law and perhaps some of the conclusions that were drawn. We have a process for that in Jamaica, and he's going through it. He's seeking. He has resorted to the courts, as we all know, and as is his right. And so I don't think it's a question of due process. There's no process that is lacking for Mr. Holness. And he certainly have the funds to pursue whatever avenue he wants to pursue them.
I want to open the discussion to the listeners and the other panelists, and I'm going to invite them to call in. Mr. Hylton, you okay with that? Taking some phone calls to respond to?
I'm fine as long as we don't have the kind of.
Let me ask this question, Mikey.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Hylton.
Sure.
I just want to be clear on this, right? The fact that the Prime Minister has gone to the courts does not necessarily mean, based on the historical trials that have gone along the same lines, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get relief from the court system, correct?
No, I mean, it's either you have a case or you don't, and the court will determine that.
Okay, so if he doesn't get relief from the court system, what then happens? Because this man has been bouncing around the IC for over 3 years with nothing being accepted from him, right? We see a family, very complex finances, where he and his wife have served as officers in different companies that they have run, construction as well as financial companies. We see where the contracts that he had given out to himself pretty much, because he was giving it to Garvin, and Garvin was a person working for him. I mean, how do you stop a person like this, sort of, the parliament just voting to remove him from office somehow? I mean, how do you guys plan to stop him? Because it seemed like he and his wife are impervious to accusations or any kind of action that you guys can come up with. He just ignores things, and he just uses the legal system to keep everybody at bay.
Well, again, in a democracy, sometimes the ultimate arbiter is the people. The people will have a say. We are on the cusp, an election is due next year. The people are watching, are observing, and surely this will be the issue of corruption is on the ballot. I mean, and the people will have to decide what are the acceptable levels, and whether, in fact, they have a problem with the findings of the Integrity Commission. But as Michael has said, we have to ensure that everybody gets their opportunity to clear themselves, if that's possible. And the Prime Minister is resorting to the opportunities that he has, including the media and the friendly parts of the media. to carry his case. So he's not short of the outlets to advocate on his part. He's the head of a political party. They have their own view. The majority in the parliament has expressed themselves in ways that the people have to judge whether that is consistent with the findings of the Integrity Commission. So what I think is useful to reflect on at this time, though, is that this issue of corruption in not only in government but in the society at large, and in well, let's keep the focus on Jamaica. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This issue has been a long-standing issue, and perhaps this is an inflection. This is a moment for where we're going to either decide whether we're going to move forward and finally crush this thing, or we're going to play around with it. But I think everybody is required to have a view on it. We don't get to get a pass on this question. It's too critical because, as I said, it's not just a matter of the political process. In fact, if corruption didn't exist in the society as a whole, a lot of what has been tolerated over the years would have long been addressed. So we as a people, we have to decide: is this time? Is this not high time that we come together and we address this in one accord, and to say that we are intending to support the critical institutions that are set up to address this issue, rather than seeking to undermine them?
My question is, Hylton, what are
Mr.
you
Hylton, can you fix your camera? Can you fix your camera, Mr. Hylton?
Sure.
Yeah, focus.
What
Go
are
ahead,
you
Pastor.
picking-
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. What are you picking up on the ground there? As it pertains to the issue of corruption and this, this lightning right now.
Well, the issue really is, what levels of corruption are we as a society prepared to condone and accept? Persons, there are differing views. Some persons are saying, well, corruption is as you see it, and as long as they are benefiting, then it's okay. If they're not benefiting, then it's a problem. Others are saying, well, there's a level to which we cannot go, and this is just too much. So everyone gets to have a view and to take a position on this. And this is what I was saying to you, Michael. It's no point in saying people are simply frustrating, so they're going to stand aside. That's just nonsense. It is our issue. It's our problem. It's not just the politician, because a number of the politicians will tell you they are called upon day in and day out to try to cut corner to facilitate someone. So the society as a whole, this is something for all of us to come together and grapple with.
But the reality in Jamaica is all politicians are crook. That is where the popular narrative, which raises a question.
No. You said the reality. What is the reality?
No, I'm not saying the reality is the belief. Nobody in Jamaica trusts the belief that nobody trusts politicians. The politicians have been malign character in Jamaica. And my question is, can the politician be called upon to leave that process that you speak of? Because yes, I share your sentiment, the corruption problem and what level we're willing to tolerate. But can the politician lead this process? Should we look into the church or other forces to lead that sort of process? Or are we going to get there? That's my question.
Well, first of all, it has never been that, and it should never be that.
Okay.
It look to any one source for dealing with it. The politicians have a role to play and a leadership role. We've put in place. Now look at the current situation. For years, there have not been the institutions or the systems or the methods for bringing these things to light and to dealing with them. Something has been put in place over a period of time. The institution has made an investigation, put certain facts out there, and yet there are others who want to immediately attack the institution. So what is it that we're saying? What is it that we're saying? We need to be very clear on what is it that we're saying. The institutions are there, the parliament acted, and it's not over one period, over several periods. The current administration have the opportunity to improve, and each administration have the opportunity to improve on what exists. We have the opportunity to improve on it, and we're hearing mixed things. So we have there's a huge issue now as to whether unexplained wealth orders, which is a tool for investigation, whether the government is going to embrace that with alacrity and to put that in place, because it can make a difference in how we attack the problem. And the government has to lead. It has a majority that it is quite willing to use in parliament to block things and to support what it wants to support. So it has to take a leadership role. The opposition has its role, and the opposition role is largely to speak very clearly so that the issues are sharpened for the public to understand what are the choices and what are the actions that are necessary to address the problem. We've been doing that consistently. But again, Michael, I don't accept the narrative that it's politicians' problem and it's politicians only.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in terms of the leadership towards, the level that we want to get to.
And I'm saying, in this instance, the leadership has been exercised. Institutions have been built. A process has been put in place. Are we going to allow the process to be undermined or to work? What is the answer to that?
One of the problems I see.
Patrick, allow last a minute. Last guy has said, go ahead, last.
Yeah, one of the problems I see. You hear me, Mikey?
Yes, man, I'm hearing you.
You not hearing me? Okay.
Yes,
one of the problems I see at this current time, is that I hear Mr. Hylton saying probably it's time that, all the forces come together to try and address the whole issue of corruption and not politicize the issue. The difficulty I see right here now with this present administration, as I believe I raised with you guys some time ago, is that with this present administration, they all seem to be galvanizing around defending their own reputations, defending whatever loopholes are there for them to get out of these sticky little situations rather than addressing the corruption issue itself. If you look at what is happening, I can't put my finger on one GLP politician who has come out with a position, like Mr. Hylton is saying, and laying aside the politics and say, you know what, let's come together as leaders and try address some of the challenges that is creating this cloud around politicians, try to close the loopholes, try to make sure that people see what is happening up front so they don't have to suspect things and whatever. And I don't see anybody on the other side trying to do that. Right? The galvanizing around the Prime Minister not releasing the information that the Integrity Commission is requesting, and they are beating down the system that is there to create the kind of transparency that we are looking for. Right? So I see that as a problem right now with the administration, which is creating more problems.
Patrick.
Let me state this. Mikey, you started by saying, trying to lay out a reality, the reality of the situation. The reality as I see it is that one, as Mr. Hylton stated, the very institution that has the responsibility to probe these things and make recommendations to actions and so on is really what we described in our discussion a few weeks ago as a toothless tiger. Because whereas it has a position to investigate and so on, it can only make recommendations. It can't take much action, much in the way of action. Now, from what you outlined, Mr. Hylton, you know, and what we pick up in the news is that, you know, of course, the Prime Minister is gonna challenge their even their little authority to do the, you know, the little that they did, right? And is not addressing the fact that he failed to comply with the investigators and the Integrity Commission, you know, in terms of making certain information available. And the other reality is that this is not just something that's a concern to the constituents, right? Or to you know, the people of Jamaica. This is something that is going to affect the Jamaica's image, right, overseas as well, even on a government-to-government basis, because people are looking on, right? The world is looking on. This is something that is in our news. Just this week, it was in the news here in the US, right? So this is not something that, you know, is of little concern to just, you know, a few people and so on. It can mean severe consequences later on. And I don't see an election really resolving this issue, because people have to be brought to account. Right?
Well, let me just point out, though. Let me point out that it is not true to say that Integrity Commission is toothless. The Integrity Commission has a prosecutorial harm and a function that can to prosecute the matters in the court, which is where the ruling, which is where it is headed. And there are a number of persons who have been brought before the courts, including I was accused of my wife not filing some document, and that was resolved because that I refused to plead guilty, and that the prosecutor had to dismiss the matter because it simply was not appropriate. So you do have an opportunity for due process and to fight back. And so it is not true to say it's toothless. It has the prosecutorial functions and can prosecute and bring cases to the court, which is where this one or any other is the ultimate ruling.
So if that is the case, has it
ever brought any matters to the court, you know, with any success, any measure of success?
Yeah, well, usually what happens is when person know they're guilty of something, they plead guilty and they pay the fine if its fine is appropriate. This one is serious because it involves serious penalties. The unclaimed, the unsubstantiated wealth. So that's a very serious and perhaps the most serious of the offenses. But there are other less offensive, failure to file on time and all of that, which is, you know, failure to file your statutory documents on time. And there are lesser offenses that people either plead guilty to or are fined and move on. So it's not, I wouldn't describe it as toothless.
Go ahead, Lars. Go ahead.
I want to ask Mr. Hylton, are you satisfied with the level of public outcry around the whole issue of corruption, especially with the Prime Minister?
Well, it's not. The issue simply is that, as I said, there has been, the sides have been drawn rather than this matter being seen for what it is, which is really an opportunity to examine the matter very carefully and to let the facts lead where they may. Persons, as you can imagine, someone in the person of the Prime Minister, he has his defender, people who are going to defend him regardless of what. And you have other persons, like Mikey is suggesting, who are unclear about what the facts are. So people are taking different positions for the time being until some are waiting for clarity. For some, there's no clarity that will change their position because their views are very clear and very set. I think that the process needs to run its course, however long it takes, Michael. So the idea that, we can't say that it has taken a long time to come to this conclusion, and then we say, hurry up and hang him. It has to run its course, and when it does, let the chips fall where they may. But for some persons, it doesn't really matter. Whatever the court says, they'll say that he's innocent, and if the court says he's guilty, some would say he's innocent, or if he's innocent, he's guilty. So it's a matter that has engaged the people. But let me respond to your question. It really is at the bottom. It really is about how, as a society, we feel about the issue of corruption. And I can tell you, there are differing views on it. If it's corrupt and you benefit from it, some people are supportive of it, and others, if they're not benefiting, well, it's a crime if they're not benefiting. But we have to say these are the rules, and whether you benefit or not, it's wrong. We have to get to that stage.
I asked that question, Mr. Hylton, because I'm wondering if part of the problem with the people taking corruption seriously is that over the years they have felt that the politicians not dealing with corruption seriously, they're only using it, they're only weaponizing it against each other. And after an election cycle is done, you don't hear nothing about it. Usually what happens is that election cycle is coming on, you hear the weaponizing and the throwing of the banter about corruption, and it sounds very serious, and the allegations sound serious. But after the election cycle is done, or a time run off, you don't hear nothing about it again. So I'm wondering if that kind of weaponizing and politicization of corruption over the years has caused the people to be so subdued around corruption, because my view is that people should be much more vocal on this thing,
Yeah.
and I don't see that kind of activity.
Well, again, let me just point out that, there are persons who, depending on the nature of the corruption, some people say, well, it's just a little infraction and make it slide, and so the runnings go. And, there are others who are saying, well, we just have to apply the rules strictly, and we have to as a society, we have to come to a standard. But here's the point that I don't want to escape us. We finally put some institution in place. You can argue whether it is it has teeth or no teeth. There's an institution in place set up to begin to address this issue. I don't expect that this is going to be the last word on it. I believe there will be amendments over time, but the institution is set up, and my own view is that this should be made to work and to begin to address the problem if we're serious. So it is a reason that, because we don't want to weaponize this thing or continue to politicize it, that we have an independent institution. Others are trying to undermine it, so it's not as independent as it needs to be. That's the issue.
And the others you're referring to is Holiness filing in the Supreme Court.
No. He has as I said at the top, but I'm going to repeat. He has a right to access the court to challenge the ruling. That's part of our laws. If he's having recourse to the law, that's his right. So that's not the criticism. The critique is that there are persons within the parliament and outside the parliament that wants to cripple the organization so it doesn't function as it was designed to function. And the question we have to ask is this appropriate? Is this what as a society we want? Or as Lass is saying, are we going to come out and say, look, we built an institution, we're insisting that it be made to work. And if something is wrong, we fix it, but you can't destroy or throw the baby out with the bathwater. But we have not yet come to that conclusion that anything is wrong. There's just assertion on the part of some that something is wrong. Yeah? But again, the measure of whether we want to address this problem, I think, is going to be how we treat the institutions that are set up to begin to address the problem, imperfect as they may be. But I want to point out, again, Lass and others, the persons who run this organization were not appointed by, these are all people that the society agreed on when they were appointed that they're appropriate person. There was no objection from the opposition about the appointment of the chairman or the executive director or the directors. That everybody went along with it until they make a finding. Then you start to hear that these people are political. Well, this administration appointed them. So how they can turn around and say these people are political against the administration?
So the PNP played no role in the appointment? They do
No, well, I mean, there may have been there were consultation as there, but but we didn't object to anyone.
Okay.
There's no record to show that we objected to anyone, right?
Herb,
so
you have any question for?
So we can't wait. We can't be silent, and then when they make a finding, then we start to attack the institution.
I have another question, Mr. Hylton. So the PNP is committed to the unearned wealth framework?
Absolutely, and not only that. In the Constitution discussion, I, as a member of the Constitutional Reform Committee, on the matter of impeachment, we were insistent that the impeachment provision remain in the Constitution. And it is one of the reasons, among the reasons we did not sign the CRC's report, because when the matter came up, I withhold the party's consent to that issue, and we disagreed that and had a reservation and placed a reservation on that issue. So yes, the PNP has said so and is committed to doing that, and is committed to the constitutional reform and accountability in government, and to ensure that there's an impeachment provision in the Constitution.
Now, Mr. Hylton, Mike, let me ask this particular question. We have decided in the diaspora that using the courts and litigation was one way to hold the legislature and the executive. Of course, the fact that the executive is in the legislature has made things more compounded. Can there be public interest litigation that they would force the courts, that force the government through the courts to successfully challenge any proposed change to the IC Act or the law that made the act what it is today, and prevent them from watering it down, which is what I think the proposal is?
Well, let me say, the laws can be made and amended by the legislature from time to time, and this is why we wanted to put something in the Constitution, because if it doesn't breach the Constitution, and it's a matter of a policy decision by the cabinet of the day, supported by the parliament, it can be amended and can be passed. And I don't think the courts can interfere too much in that process unless it breaches some constitutional provision.
Okay. Well, when they passed this law that made the IC effective, why go back now to tamper with it? And why cannot the opposition ask the US government to bring more pressure to bear under the Global Magnitsky Act, which covers the type of behavior we see in the Prime Minister?
Well, first of all, I don't think we have to be careful about how we bring others into our situation, because once you start to do that, it becomes a slippery slope. If there's an act in the United States which has been breached, then it doesn't require the opposition to say to the US government to do what it believes is a breach of that it has been tampered with or breached their legislation. But I'd be loath personally to be reaching and asking for not only US, any third country to interfere in my domestic affairs. So if the US has a law that it believes has been breached, then it's well within its rights to initiate this prosecution. It doesn't need me or anyone else in the opposition to tell it what to do.
We see where the SSL saga continues, and where dual nationals, Jamaican American citizens, rights might have been breached by SSL. But we don't see any investigations being conducted by the FBI or Homeland Security investigations. We don't see any outside interference, and we don't see anybody challenging the investigative agencies who are involved right now to include outside investigators that represents dual nationals, regardless of what country they're from, Canada, the UK, or EU, or the US.
Well, that's not what we're told by the government, and to the best of my knowledge, that is not the case. The case is external. Not necessarily external government agencies, but external institutions have been brought in to assist in the investigation. And I'm advised that, in fact, when the Minister of Finance first addressed this matter, in fact, I think the record will show that he said that they were bringing in FBI, I think.
Yeah, which turned out to be untrue.
Well, again, well, we need to trumpet that to say that it is untrue. If you know that it is untrue, then we need to say that. But that's what he said. That's what he said.
But it's a like I said, it's a slippery slope, because some of us in the diaspora would like to go directly to the ambassador and say, look, you are sitting here and you're like a bump on the log. You're not paying attention to what's actually going on. Americans of Jamaican descent are being hurt, and you have not been taking any action to remedy the situation. That's the same way of asking the US government in an unofficial manner to interfere, which they would be doing it to protect your fellow Jamaicans who happen to be dual nationals.
Hold up. Are you saying that the government must invite the US to come into Jamaica, and that's what you're saying? Interference, interference in Jamaica?
I'm saying we as dual nationals
Yeah.
should be asking the U.S. ambassador to Jamaica, who himself is a fellow Jamaican,
To do what?
to intervene where citizens of the United States who happen to be Jamaicans have been hurt in this SSL saga, and to ask the FBI to conduct, or the Homeland Security investigations, to conduct investigations on their behalf.
Well,
But
let
it's
me say this,
coming, it
Bridget.
would
Let me
come
say
from
this,
the
Bridget.
U.S. ambassador.
Let me say this, Bridget. I'm not a lawyer, I see, but what you're saying, sit comfortable with me. You know,
Well, the
right?
issue is not a legal issue, really. You know, the issue really is more a political one, because
Yeah.
if to the extent that my response has been, to the extent that an act in the U.S. is deemed to be breached, then the U.S. doesn't need the opposition or anyone to tell it what it needs to do. All I'm saying is an investigation is being done here. We are watching it. We are not. There's been a outcry from time to time. Even today's paper, there's article written about it. The opposition is watching it, but again, remember, the opposition wants to be constructive and not destructive, and simply seem to weaponize every issue. If an investigation is going on, it is being watched not just by us, but the news media, by the public, by the interested party. Mr. Bold commented, I think quite correctly, the other day, made his own observation, and that got a response. But I can't say that we are happy at the pace at which. I think it could be better handled, and it needs to be more transparent. But to say that we should then ask the US to send in people to investigate, I personally would be very loath to do that. I mean, you are well within your right as a dual national to speak to the ambassador and to ask him to act.
But the US doesn't have any such authority to take
Yes,
action.
they do. Yeah, they do.
No.
Global Magnitsky.
Not to take action in
a case where U.S. citizens are hurt or damaged.
No, not
Yeah,
to take action in
but gentlemen,
any
we have to
direct
we
way
have to
like
stand
that.
we have to stand on certain grounds, and the idea of inviting foreigners, whether they're American or not, inviting foreigners to come into our affairs. That's not too kosher, my brethren. If this is nationalism, then I am a nationalist. When it comes to that, we must resolve our problem without
Mikey,
invite
we see.
Americans and Canadian and British coming our thing. Not that too tough.
Well, we just did that with Haiti, right?
Well, that is for the Haiti people say, object or what they want to do. But about me as a Jamaican, right? Now, my Jamaican people.
It's not the same thing anyway.
Yeah, but I invite a foreigner to come down our business. Mr. Hylton, I think watching and waiting, most Jamaican right now, we say that is not enough for the PNP. In addition to the watching and waiting, we see an attempt to move a motion. And people still not satisfied. So my question is, the PNP going to step up them game? When are they just waiting for the election to call?
Well, first of all, let me respond by saying, look, whatever the PNP do, it will be criticized. If it does nothing, is criticized, and if it act is criticized, because then you say, well, everything is politicized. But here's a distinction: when there's an investigation going on, we need to be very careful, because you may appear to be trying to influence the investigation or the outcome of the investigation. And all what we have to do at this point is to express that, look, we are observing very keenly, but it's not for the opposition to go in and to say, you need to decide by Wednesday, next week, or 6 months' time what to do. You have to be very careful. And
but again,
we're talking about...
The opposition don't have any such authority either.
No, well, it's not about authority. The opposition can say what it wishes to say.
No. I
I'm
mean,
talking about what is responsible.
beyond saying what they want to say.
No, I'm saying that's precisely what we're not doing. We have to be a responsible opposition, meaning that where there is the opportunity, and the need certainly exists. There's certainly frustration, and we recognize that. But we need to be very careful on the other hand. And I'm saying this as a lawyer. You know the process. You don't just jump in and start to say things without really some basis for saying that. Otherwise, I don't even think it's wise politically. You may appear to be interfering, and when there's a certain outcome, then you hear it.
But I'm agreeing with you. I'm just putting it simply, right? And not really beating around the bush saying it. I'm saying that there's very little or next to nothing the opposition can do beyond stating their perspective on it.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we are not in charge of. Some people want us to be in charge of government when it suits them, and we're not. But we are opposition, and so we say what we have to say. We press the process, but again, we have to know the limits. Otherwise, everything becomes everything. So when you're opposition, you act like you're government, and when you're government, there's one government at a time, and we have to respect that, and we say what we have to say. But as I said, we are very clear that whatever we do, some people will never be happy because they think some people think you should start burning down the place. I don't,
Mr. Hylton, honestly, I can't agree with that.
No. I'm just saying no.
Yes, you have some of us want to burn down the place, yes, but I think a lot of people are somewhat disappointed in the PNP reaction to what the corruption, the increase in the salary, and all that, and the PNP just. I'm not sure if people are clear as to what direction the PNP is going right now.
Yeah, but listen, Michael. I'll simply say to you, our positions are very, very clear. Whether you hear it or not, it is very clear. On the matter of accountability, we are the one that, remember this, Mark Golding brought an impeachment bill to the House. The government has not even allowed a debate on it. We have raised that many times in the media and in writing and in the press. And barring a demonstration where you walk with a placard and simply saying you're not doing that, the only thing left for you to do is to take out the mace in the parliament, right? So I'm simply saying to you, there, as was said earlier, there are, if you don't accept that there are limits to what any opposition can do, the opposition can become the government overnight.
No, but let me just, Mr. Hylton, Mr. Hylton.
Let me repeat. No, Michael, let me repeat my point. Go ahead. Insofar as the opposition position, only someone who refused to hear, because the opposition is very clear on the matter of corruption, that we accountability in government, so much so that we are defending the position, and it's the reason why we didn't sign the Constitutional Reform Commission report. That is the reason we withheld our signature in large part because it refused to include the impeachment provision. That's a matter of record. No,
it is also a matter of record that the PNP sat in a parliament with a member of parliament who brutalized his wife with a stool. They sat in that parliament in that individual, and the PNP could have withdraw themselves from the parliament, so they had option. So the question for me is the politics of the PNP.
Let me say this to you, Michael.
Let me welcome John to the conversation. John, you miss a good part, but you can't catch up. I'm not hearing you. You're mute. Mr. Hylton. Go ahead, Mr. Hylton.
Let me say this, Michael.
I said that I come at the right time. Hello, okay. Mr. Hylton.
Okay. Hello. Welcome. Let me say this. you understand that the options are to walk out of Parliament and stay out of Parliament. Now, I can tell you from where you sit, I don't know how you are judged from where you sit, but from where we sit, the Jamaican people, at least those in Jamaica, are very clear that they send you to Parliament to protect their interests in the Parliament. The Jamaican people are equally clear about the situation with Wright and how the Jamaica Labour Party has finagled and again played with the parliamentary rules to protect Wright. And they are very clear that that is what occurred. Similarly, they are very clear that they attempt to change the rules about when to table reports in the House, whether it be from the Auditor General or the Integrity Commission. That was an interference with a settled convention and rule. So the people, again, are observing, we objected to that. But if your position is that we should walk out and stay out, because if you walk out one day and he persists and he sits where he sits, then the next day you have to keep walking out. And at what stage do you protect the people's legitimate other interests? Because the people are not only interested in Wright and what he's done, the people have made up their mind about that.
But
so
our
view is, so let me say to you. What?
Go ahead. Mr. Golden walk out of Parliament right after the motion was blocked.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, Michael, so if he walks out and you saw that, are you suggesting that we stay out until they do something with Mr. Wright or in any other action? You can show your displeasure by walking out, but the walking out business doesn't work every time, because every time you walk out, you give the government a free hand to do all kinds of things in your absence. You need to be aware of it.
Okay,
you need
John.
To be aware. So no, we're not going to keep walking out and staying out of Parliament. We'll express ourselves on it, but I'm saying, and including going on the steps of the old God knows and finish our report so the people know what our position is. But you have a duty to stay in the Parliament and protect the other legitimate interests of the people.
Okay. John, your turn. Question from Mr. Hylton.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm sorry, first of all, Mr. Hylton. Mr. Hylton, let me be decent and welcome you. And because Nita tell me the efforts you are making to assist the community, and I'm a part of those efforts. So I want to thank you for that effort.
Well, John, let me declare that that those efforts are unbeknownst to me. What are those efforts?
Well, in terms of the community program is over more than 2 years now. I'm talking to Nita about it. And my understanding is that you are sympathetic at worst and you contribute whatever you can at best. Is that wrong? Am I being ill-informed?
No, but I do that all the time on a range of things. My specific question to you is, what are those programs?
No. Well, I don't, maybe the word, don't be defensive.
No. Those are your words. I'm not. I just need to know. If you
well, I only know that you, as the member of Parliament, as he calling you and ask you for help, and that you have done things to assist in the programs that the youths and the community would like to get organized there. I don't have any detail. I can't say you bring 10 chair or you bring 20 table and so on. I just know that you're also on this program, which is also a very positive sign. So those are some of the things that I would be referring to. I don't want to give more credit than where credit is due, but at the same time, I don't want to make it appear as though you are, you make no contribution or you're not sympathetic to the cause in the Waterhouse community. Is that okay, sir?
No, well, John, let me just say, I am not
Mr.
being
Hylton.
defensive. I am not being defensive. I am just saying that before you came on, John, to be fair, we're talking about the many persons overseas who from time to time call and say they want to help and do nothing. So I just want to make sure when you say you're involved in programs, that I understand what those programs are. That's all.
He's talking
Okay.
about
I don't want to.
Mr. Hylton.
Yes.
John is referring to the effort around the studio at the center, how we're moving towards that. You know.
Well, as you know, as you know, that's that's another project that I just got to sleep in the government. I mean, we woke them up the other day, and they just went back to sleep. But that's okay.
Anyway, yes, thank you. I also want to apologize to all of the members of the panel and to the guests who are listening because of the time it took me. I tell you, I do have a challenge with this laptop because if I don't turn it on 45 minutes before, it gives me hell. I try to speed it up and it ends up being even worse off. So on that note, I only have one question and one comment. The Jamaican people are extremely upset at the news regarding the corruption and the IC report, all of the rest of the bangarang associated with the Prime Minister. And it is somewhat disturbing to me, and I'm sure to others, that the main opposition party, namely the People's National Party, have done what I would call 20% of protests. Protests in terms of press conference, protests in terms of statements in Parliament, but no protests on the street. I think is a glaring example. Why is it that the People's National Party cannot bring out 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people on the street and demand some concrete resolution to the issue at hand? It appalling to me. It almost said to me that you have something to hide. You can't go further than where it has gone in terms of representation. When I just came on, I hear about gavel. Take up the gavel and all. You know, the Jamaican people.
The mace, not the gavel.
Sorry, the mace. Thank you, Patrick. But you know what I'm talking. These are almost, it's parliamentary procedure, but we cannot be locked into parliamentary procedure in regard to something like this. It should be, what can the party do to make its position known and to take steps, and that is one of the main forms, namely some sort of protestation on the street. Is this not an issue that demands something of that nature? And why would the PNP not look in that direction?
Well, first of all, I've listened to you and I want you to listen to my response. First of all, how would you know whether we look in that direction or not? But more than that, more fundamentally, we started the show with the host asking about due process and asking me what would happen in the event that all of this is an injustice to Mr. Holness. That's what we started this program. And I believe we need to be mindful. Mr. Holness is entitled to his due process. He's invoked the court to review the actions of the Integrity Commission. I believe if we believe in our process, then he should have his day in court. We have said, and our position is very clear. The no confidence motion that we attempted to move, that they blocked in the House. And remember, it can be effectively blocked by the technology that is being used, because notwithstanding anything we had to say, the speaker just simply did not open the microphone. So even if Mr. Holness was there mouthing, no one could hear a word that he was saying, because that's what they changed the technology to ensure that is now available to the Speaker of the House. But more than that, John, let me just say, again, the PNP position has been consistent and clear. We are of the view that of the 8 persons that have been investigated for illicit enrichment, that none of those are members of the People's National Party. And we have gone further. The National Executive Council have said at this last meeting that if it turns out that one person from the People's National Party is involved in this illicit enrichment, they have to immediately remove themselves. So I don't know what greater clarity on the matter of the constitutional amendment. We have insisted that the impeachment provision remain in the Constitution. It's one of the reasons we did not sign it. And I'm a member of the committee and I didn't sign for that and other reasons. The matter now of mobilizing 3,000 people and going on the street, that can be done easily. The question is, you will have people like Michael and others justly saying, where's the due process? Why is Mr. Holness not allowed to challenge the ruling of the IC Integrity Commission to protect himself in case the Integrity Commission erred in its findings? What do you have to say about that, Mr. Hahn?
What do I have to say? The due process. Mr. Golden is entitled to the due process through the channels of...
Not Mr. Golden.
I'm sorry, Mr. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister is entitled to the issues of due process through the channels of due process. Going on the street does not preclude due process. Since when?
Let me ask you, the street, we know the street well, and the street is not something to use as you see fit. The street is something to use to mobilize correctly. I hope you heard what I said, and your host need to speak, because he started this program by expressing a concern that he has about Mr. Holness's right and his due process of law. And I'm saying, if you agree with him that he has a right to challenge, and we should hear what the court has to say, than to go and to say he is guilty. We can't find him guilty and there's been no process. In fact, the IC report is inconclusive as of now, because on the issue of the financial mismanagement.
Allegations.
They're all allegations.
Correct.
So if you go take to the streets and mobilize 10,000 people on the basis of allegation, and the court were to find that the IC, the Integrity Commission, erred, then what do? You go back and protest what? What do you go back and protest?
Well, I don't know what's the point you're making, because...
No, you well know what the point I'm making is. I'm saying the process is inconclusive. That's the point I'm making.
And that is something...
You are saying we should lead a 10,000 man march.
No, I didn't say 10. I said that you said it's easy to bring 3,000 people, and that's absolutely true.
But it is, but I'm saying
he's not doing it.
I'm saying, but should we? That's the question. That's the question I'm raising, John. Should we? And I pose a question in ways that you well understand, because your host raised the question. And I'm saying to you, if the process is inconclusive and incomplete, what does a responsible opposition do? You take to the streets, and then you find that the process properly concluded is in the opposite direction, that the man is not guilty as charged, then what do? You have egg on your face, John.
Yes, you would have egg on your face.
All right. So, and that will be responsible.
No, but
we're not following your, John. We're not following your advice. We have other advice, and I'm telling you that's not good advice.
Gentlemen, can we move on something else, because it's pointless really back and forth on this issue.
No,
it really is not an important issue. You know, it's not pointless, because the fact is.
No. I'm talking about the argument is pointless.
Yeah, well, you know, he's saying the opposition must do something, and the opposition has considered it and adjudged that it is not the appropriate thing in the circumstance. And when the circumstance allows,
Mr. Hylton.
Yeah, when the circumstance allows, we'll do that. We'll mobilize tens of thousands.
No, but I think what John is pointing to is what I raised earlier. There is a tendency in Jamaica that is upset with the People's National Party because of its present position just now. We're not talking about a single issue by Holness. We're talking about a series of events. The salary increase, the other rip-offs, and all of those stuff. And
but in fairness to Mr. Hylton, he addressed that.
Let me finish, please. I'm saying that in terms of a scale of turning up the pressure on this government, right? The most the PNP has done is the motion they move in the parliament. Others are saying the PNP need to do more, which I think that is what John is saying.
Of course, that's what John is saying. But again,
what is the more?
Can I say something on that, Mikey?
Go ahead.
Again, no, one second last. Again, what I'm saying is that basically what we're doing is we're wasting time, because John said what he had to say, right? John raised in terms of mobilizing people on the street, and Mr. Hylton addressed that, right? In terms of how it wouldn't benefit us to do that.
I want to respond to that, because I wanted to respond to it when Michael raised the issue about taking to the streets and the salary issue. You know, there's a lot we can criticize the PNP and say they should be doing, but we have to be fair on that, on this issue, that the PNP have to move in line with the readiness of the people. And a lot of issues in Jamaica right now, the more politically aware people want to take to the streets and say the party or the people should take to the streets, but a lot of the ordinary people are not there in wanting to take to the streets. They are not that politically motivated at this time, right, to want to take to the streets. I remember those days when we were in Jamaica and the least thing happened. It was easy for us to go inside the community and get people out. And it's almost spontaneous to respond to certain things. We saw with the salary increase where some people took to the streets, and the kind of support that the ordinary citizens gave to those kind of activity was not there. So the party or any party, right, in opposition now have to be taking the people along, can't be running too far ahead of them, right? And then the disappointments come when you achieve nothing out of it. So I just wanted to make that point, because when Mikey raised the issue about the demonstrations, about the salary increase, it was clear that the people were not, the party could go inside the community and try and mobilize people. If the people are not ready to take to the streets, what the party is going to do? Not just the PNP, but any organization in opposition, right? If the people are not ready for that kind of action, it don't make sense to even call for it.
Mr. Hylton,
Yes, Michael.
when the PNP had the conference, you and others provide transportation for people from Waterhouse to go to the conference. I want to tell you, and you must have been told about this, that a number of youths from the bottom capture went to the conference and they went there on their own initiative. When a certain man checked them and said, well, to explain that to me, them say, well, owners have to go. Them own movement, them own initiative and go to the conference, which show that there's a definite shift among the people. I don't know what the organizer advising the PNP or what have you, but I know there's a shift. A shift have taken place among the ordinary people, and I think the PNP should try and tap into that shift, because there's definitely a shift.
But Michael, let me just say to you, first of all, you're correct in what was reported to you. I'm aware that is so, but I'm saying that's among that same group of youths. Because I went into the community last week and spoke to a few of them, and among that same group of youth, it was just good to see an awareness, because that same group of youth 6 months ago was disinterested. So there is an awakening, but that doesn't mean that they're ready to take to the streets. They're just aware that, look, this thing is a serious problem. So I'm just saying to you, a judgment. Well, first of all, it's not even a judgment. Leadership, sound leadership, me believe in sound leadership, not just reckless leadership. Everything you go and make noise and jump up and down. The truth is that, as I've said, Mr. Oles has invoked the courts to review the actions of the IC. He's entitled to do that. We can take to the streets and make the noise. Yes, we can. We have that free will. Jamaica is still a free country. We can do that. But I'm saying to you, a responsible opposition in the face of what is mounted and an allegation is made, simply assesses, not even wait. It can go ahead if it has information to say that all of what is in there is true. It can go out and say, well, we believe it is true and we're going to make a judgment call. But I'm saying in the absence of that, then you simply know there are other ways and means that you can challenge it, and we are using those other ways and means. The fact that we haven't taken to the streets doesn't mean that it is of any less concern to us. Neither that, the SSL and other matters. But taking to the streets is, you don't just take to the street because you can mobilize 3,000 or 10,000 people. You really have to make sure that you lead them properly and in the right direction. But some people For some people that don't matter. You just lead them anywhere.
Well, that don't apply to me, but I would like to know, there is never a time when people have the option of protest, when there are not other means by which issues can be addressed. So to say to me that it's wrong to go on the street, because
I said no such thing.
In this issue, you said,
I said no such thing. I said no such thing.
It will be reckless.
I said no such thing.
What did you say? What did you say?
Well, you may want to listen carefully, because I will not accept what you're saying. I've simply said a judgment has to be made at every stage. Right? You have to look at the circumstance. You have to understand what is happening in a judgment. And I'm saying to you, our judgment as of today, that could change tomorrow or next week. I don't know that. So I'm not saying that it's not a matter to be protested over. You have to understand the time of day. Right? So you in an easy chair, you can say there we are the ones who will be on the street, and we're saying you don't just take the street because it's
my point, Mr. Hylton, is a little different.
Well, go ahead and say it.
My point is a little different. There is almost no circumstance.
You can say it differently, but it's the same point. Go ahead. I'm listening.
You're a lawyer,
Done.
Mr. Hylton. I can tell you're a lawyer.
No,
My
no.
point is this.
Mike, let me get this in.
Yes, Herbie. Let's see your point, Herbie, because you span the legalese and protestees. Let's
All
hear
right,
your point.
if you say so, John. But Mr. Hylton, in seriousness,
I thought we were. We're all being serious.
I got a request from one of your counterparts, your comrade in arms, to do an investigation when I was with Cyber Policing International. And that investigation was done. The investigation demonstrated back in 2008 how the company in St. Lucia was formed. The source of funds that they're worried about now, asking the question, where did these funds come from? We demonstrated where the funds came from. We demonstrated the birth of ADMAT. And how did we do that? We had an attorney, Fairclough, with us. We had the former head of the MIU, a lieutenant colonel, with us. And we had an executive from the Institute of Caribbean Studies with us, right? And we sat and we questioned a former member of the military intelligence unit at Upper Camp who was born and raised in St. Lucia, and who set up the front companies. Now, I don't know what happened to the report, but I was told finally that it was handed over to the Integrity Commission. Why couldn't the Integrity Commission have used that report that demonstrated how ADMAT was formed, demonstrated the illicit funds that was received then and had to be trafficked then? Why could not that be investigated? Why do we start an investigation from 2018 to 2022 and not from all the way back in 2008 when ADMAT was formed, to show a source of illicit funds? And why is the party, the opposition party, not on the ball when it comes to that?
Well, let me ask you two questions.
Yeah.
Did you share that dossier with the opposition party?
I sure did.
You shared it with the opposition party?
I shared it with the opposition party.
And you did so yourself rather than through a third party? You did so directly?
Well, the company I worked for at the time delivered it directly.
Okay.
Payments were made, the report was delivered.
All right. I am as a legal advisor, I'm unaware of that, but I'll take you at the word and I will ask who might. In fact, I can talk to you off air. You can tell me who accepted.
That would be good. That would be good.
Right. So
because
I'll follow up on
it's a mystery to me while we're fighting over whether he did or he didn't. We know what he did.
Well, I'm saying, when you say we, I'm simply saying, if that report is done, not just follow procedurally, because if the report is done, you know what he did, but we need to share that information broadly, not narrowly.
Okay.
Broadly. So it's first time I know of the incident, but I cannot tell you that I have any information about the sources. I've heard rumors, but rumors is an everyday thing in Jamaica. That's different from the facts. And you said you have the facts, and I'm saying to you, if the facts are there, they need to be widely shared. I am unaware, and I'm sure there are many others who are unaware. But if in fact that was delivered, as you said, to the IC Commission, it's the first time I'm hearing this on this program. This is news, this is breaking news, and I think a program like this, I mean, this information should be let loose wide in the public. I think it's
one of the reasons I'll tell you, I respect the confidence of the client customer, right? And that there was not a need to widely say it, but I've said it before on another program. I might have even said it on this program, but I didn't dive into it.
Well,
There's a need to dive into it now.
Herb.
Yeah.
Hold on. Don't say it. I would suggest that you and Mr. Hylton have a phone call off the net. A phone call. You guys talk. So can we drop the discussion right here now? I'm moving something here.
So Mike, this is breaking news. Well, you are getting breaking news?
Yeah, breaking news, but I don't want, I want to make sure you guys talk first. That's more important.
Mr. Hylton, I want to ask you a question I think you can answer.
Yeah.
And that is, as it pertains to the election, what is the legal provisions?
The breaking up.
What is the legal provisions as it pertains to holding off the next election?
No, it's simple. I mean, they have up until 3 months. The anniversary of the last election is the date by which the election must be called, and you have a 3 months period in the case of some emergency that is declared that it can be extended to. But the anniversary of the election is really the time by which the last election that the election must be called. This 5 years ends.
And that would put it to when?
September
25.
September 2025.
With the 3 month extension?
No, the 3 month extension will go beyond that. 3 months plus that. The last election was held on September, I think it was 20th, I think. But don't hold me to the specific date, but September 2020.
And a 3 month would extend it to December?
Yeah, September, October, November, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And failure to comply with that, what would be the
No, serious constitutional breach. We don't even want to contemplate that. Serious constitutional breach.
Okay. Okay, I'll go with that. Okay.
Gentlemen, I think we reached the end of this journey. But before we go, I'd like to ask Mr. Hylton this question. Mr. Hylton, we have a center, a resource center. You see it behind my head there in Waters. I want you to use this platform and reach out to overseas Jamaican. Tell us what role can we play, or what we can do to support this center from overseas. And if there's a number you have to share, that will also be good. But tell a Jamaican overseas what we can do to support that center. Can you?
Well, yes. Let me say my preferred approach is that a trust be established, because I don't receive funds from no one about anything. And a trust needs to be established with a proper governance structure that could comprise people both locally and abroad, chosen by whomever. But we've had that discussion with 4 different people from overseas, but I'll say it on the air. The trust can be formed, proper governance structure, and the funds sent to it, and the funds are allocated in ways that the board decides. As simple as that.
In terms of the center, other activities happening there, program, work study program, what's happening at the center?
Yeah, well, right now there's an issue. We need to change the STC. There's concern in the community, and we have a process underway so that there can be a meeting. I think you have to have a meeting. There's a governance structure in place now that needs to be re-examined, and we'll be having a meeting shortly to re-examine that. But we need to get active participants in place who can govern it. I don't run these institutions as political institutions. They are community institutions, and what I want to see is proper governance for the institutions, that they're responsive. They're responsive to the concerns of the community. So right now there's a concern that the persons, it's not available as the community needs it, but there's a related concern that it's a facility that have to be managed, because these facilities, if you don't manage them, they're destroyed. They're just destroyed, and where everybody is responsible, nobody is responsible. So I believe we have to put a proper structure.
How is it supported now, Mr. Hylton?
Huh?
How is it supported now? How is the center supported? Right? How is the center supported now? Who is responsible for the?
Well, as I said, there is the SDC.
Maintenance and care and upkeep of the building.
No.
Okay.
There's a SDC. The SDC is the body. There's a committee in place now that itself needs to be refreshed, reviewed and refreshed. And we're in that process now where we're going to do that shortly. But on the matter of maintenance, it's really what the member of parliament or the council have to offer, really. That's a real answer. And we, right now we have a program, a boxing program we want to implement. We have other programs there, the music studio to be completed, and we need a more dynamic SD body at the center to really carry the center and to be responsive to the community.
Well, if this structure you're putting in place will be open to overseas Jamaican, you count me down. I'm willing to make a contribution to that structure. All right, Mr. Hylton?
All right, we can talk about it, but I think we'll set up the trust first, and so people can contribute, and you can be part of the board. So whatever.
Okay, so I think that's a charge Mr. Hylton just put before us. Setting up a trust, the White House trust or something. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoy this session, this brief session, Mr. Hylton. And the listeners, I hope they also learn something. Gentlemen, Jamaica.
Thank Mr. Hylton for coming.
Mr. Hylton,
you're welcome, and I'm here when I'm called. And
yes, it was good having you, and we haven't spoken in a while, but yes, it was really good having you.
Good to have been here.
Mr. Hylton don't know, so this is his place, this platform. Just, this is White House vibes, so don't worry. Just all he has to do is just reach out, and everything is okay.
And
Mr. Hylton, looking forward to a follow-up with you. All right.
All right. No, I'll speak to you off here.
Okay, good then. All right.
All right. But you have numbers. Both of you have the numbers for each other.
Yeah, I have his number. I have his number. We're connected.
Yeah.
All right. So, one love. Make sure you take care of yourself. This is what? Columbus Day in America.
No,
Indigenous Day.
This is Sunday.
This Sunday or what? This today.
Thanksgiving for us.
Tomorrow is
Thanksgiving
in America. Yeah.
Nobody knows Thanksgiving for us. Day, man. We really are talking about Mikey. You look like you drink something, man.
All right. Well, you figure out what Michael is drinking. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right, my brother. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Hylton.
Blessings.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.